You should know a little bit about the Zoom environment before we begin. Note that today's webinar is being closed captioned. To see the closed captions, click the Captions button in the Zoom menu and the captions will appear along the bottom of your screen. We are grateful to Ann Armstrong for being our captioner today. We want to make sure everyone can contribute to the conversation. Even though your mic is muted, we want to hear your questions, comments, and thoughts and interact with others in the room through the chat panel. If you don't see a chat panel, click the chat panel button in the Zoom menu on the bottom and you can select specific attendees to chat with during the webinar. Above the field where you enter text, you will see a blue drop-down menu. You should be able to select everyone if you want to communicate with the entire panel on the attendees. So select panelists and attendees from the menu. Many thanks to the RMTC-DHH staff members for their support in chat monitoring and dropping links to resources throughout the webinar. We mentioned it in our email notifications. This webinar is being recorded and it will be archived. As a reminder, we do request that you take the post survey for TA Live. It is helpful for us to be able to collect the data because our data is our friend and very friendly to our continued funding. So getting the data from you is important to us. We thank you in advance for contributing to our continued self-assessment of our work. We also have a link at www.rmtc-dh.org/TA-live/ where you can request a certificate for participating in this webinar live or when you're watching the recording afterward. Today, I am pleased to announce that we have my friend and colleague, Shannon Fowler from Palm Beach County Schools with us. Shannon is a 5-year veteran itinerant teacher for students who are deaf and hard of hearing, pre-K through 12th grade in Palm Beach County. We're excited she's going to be sharing with us Don't Teach, Coach, self-determination through an independent problem-solving approach. With her is a special guest and student, Nina. Thank you guys both so much for being here today. Shannon, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Sherry. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Don't Teach, Coach. I want to introduce my special guest here, Nina.
Hi, guys.
Nina is a 12th grade student in Palm Beach County. She's a mentor to fellow DHH peers on campus and around the district. Using the coach method with her peers, she is part of a long list of clubs and organizations, excuse the bell, sorry, including National Honor Society, Student Government, Health Occupation Student Association, and Science National Honor Society. She holds numerous leadership positions in these clubs, including being senior class president. She hopes to one day become a pediatrician to help parents who have just discovered their child has hearing loss and be a role model to those children. And as you're hearing all of her wonderful accomplishments, you might be thinking, well, how does this relate to my student who doesn't look at their interpreter or doesn't wear their hearing aids or whatever your concerns may be? I want to take you back 4 years. Nina, what was it like about 4 years ago?
I remember 4 years ago, I'd only wear one hearing aid, or I would just ignore the interpreter and not look at her at all. I was not as confident as I am today. I would not answer anyone's questions about my hearing loss. So
yeah, it was much different than today, right? And you may be wondering, how can I get my student there? It was December of 2016 when RMTC announced that they would be supplying C.O.A.C.H as well as a training with Lynne Price. And this really changed everything because at the time, every single day, it would come out to be like this. If you're not familiar with this meme, there is a dog here, which represents our student. And as you can notice, the room is on fire. And the dog is saying that this is fine. As itinerant teachers, a lot of the times we have to put out fires, figurative fires. And sometimes that's the interpreter didn't show up. Sometimes that's my hearing aid isn't working today. Sometimes that's more serious, like my teacher won't talk to me directly, which I know that has happened to you before. And the way that we change this and get the student to recognize that there's a fire around them and this is not fine is by stopping putting out that fire and giving them the fire extinguisher instead. And you might be thinking, well, why? Why would I do that? I'm a professional here. You know, I have a degree in deaf education. Why would I need to do that? And well, let's look at the studies. So this is from the National Deaf Center. They put out a report in 2017 about the gaps between high school deaf and hearing students and their educational attainment. If we look at deaf kids, they're getting about 82% are graduating from high school. About 50% are getting some college. 18% are getting their bachelor's degree, and then only about 7% are actually getting more than a bachelor's. And you can look, that's just in Florida. Those gaps get wider between hearing and deaf individuals. And that's not fair to our kids at all. Then we look at if they're not getting degrees, they must be getting jobs, right? In Florida, looking at our deaf individuals, 49% are not in the labor force and 6% are unemployed. So over half don't have a job, or they're not looking for a job, or they're at home, you know, just taking care of whomever. When we look at hearing individuals, that's not the same story. And then if you have an additional disability, 61% who are deaf and have no additional disability have a job. 27% of deaf with any additional disability are being employed. And that's quite a drop. I'm thinking about my own caseload. I have about 30 students on my caseload. About 10 of them have an additional disability. And I mean, that's about 3 of my kids that will have a job based on this employment. That's terrible. Out of the 30 kids on my caseload, and those 10 that have an additional disability, that's abysmal. And if they happen to be deaf-blind, only 30% are employed. In addition to that, 11.3% of deaf individuals in Florida, 25 to 64, so working age, receive SSI benefits. For me, that number is way too high. What is causing this is some of the negative attitudes and biases. A lot of the times, they're not being included in these high spheres of influence where decisions are being made about themselves. And that professionals who have optimistic expectations like I had for you, I could see there was something in you, for deaf people are crucial to their achievements. So, also in a 2009, which is getting kind of old now, but in a 2009 study of deaf, blind, and hard of hearing adults, only 24% said that they would advocate. Most of them said that it would not make a difference, it's a waste of time, and it's not my responsibility. And I've heard you say before that sometimes before we started with Coach that you felt that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
And that you used to say that it's not my job, it's waste of time, similar things to that. And I'm sure some of your students might be thinking that as well. I mean, 24%, that's less, I can't even imagine. IDEA, if you get questions at an IEP meeting, why is this even important? IDEA says that we have to focus on improving the academic and functional achievement. So that includes self-advocacy. That includes them being successful on their own. Grades is not enough for transition. There is no test for their job. There is no test, you know, yes, there's going to be an annual review, but there's no test for that. There's no test for how many times did you request an interpreter. And students who have a high level of empowerment are 20 times more likely to attend a 2-year college. That's just a 2-year college. So when we give that empowerment and we give that, you know, the fire extinguisher to our students, rather than taking it from them, they're 20 times more likely to attend a 2-year college. Can you imagine what would happen if everyone did this? So what can I do? With all those staggering statistics, what can I do as a professional? I love this quote. I saw it recently, that the most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. So when we put out those fires, yes, we are professionals. However, when we take that power away, that changes the course. Just like we saw, kids are 20 times more likely to get into, you know, attend a 2-year college, just from empowerment. So we have to go out with the old. I am very, very glad, and I'm sure you're very, very glad that we don't use these anymore in classrooms, because it's hard enough to get our students to use the hearing aids, let alone if I had to make you carry that around with you. Mm-hmm. The old way is banking, where I would give you some information, you hold on to that in your head, and then when I ask for it, you give it back. Mm-hmm. How did that work out in the past for you? Like when your teachers would tell you, okay, here's your ADA rights.
I would just ignore it. I didn't think that I can do anything with it.
Did you feel like you could solve, you know, like use that in a way?
I didn't think I can use it because I didn't even know there was a problem in the first place.
So would you probably more than likely come back to someone else to like come back to me in order to solve your issue?
Before? You mean before?
Before, yes.
Can you repeat that?
Can you repeat? Yes. Thank you. Can you, so when I would give you that information, and you held on to it, and you said you probably wouldn't use it because you didn't think it would solve anything. Did you think that, you know, it would always require someone else to help you? Someone else had that information. Someone else had that power.
I did.
And that is, you know, like we just saw, the 20 times when we give that empowerment, 20 times more to go to a 2-year college. I mean, independence is key for a transition. So instead, what we can use is something called critical consciousness. It was first introduced by Paulo Freire and the Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And it allows students to critically reflect and act upon their environment. It forces them to use whatever content as a lens. And with this research, it suggests that young people's perception of support from their family, community, and peers has a significant impact on the reflection component of their critical consciousness. So again, going back to that empowerment, going back to, giving high expectations and optimism. Another method that I kind of stole from the world of mental health and counseling is called motivational interviewing. And it's a technique in which you become the helper. So instead of, telling somebody what to do, you always come back, you kind of help them to realize the difference between what they want, their goal, and what's actually happening. So for example, I believe it was one time you had a teacher who would only talk to your interpreter. And what you actually wanted to happen was
for them to talk directly to me.
Yes. So we created a discrepancy there. Like, okay, here's what's happening in the real world. Here's what's happening in what we want to happen. And it put you in charge of your ability to change. Most important from this is expressing empathy through reflective listening. So when you told me that your teacher was not talking to you, I said, oh, so, you want your teacher to talk directly to you and listen to you. Mm-hmm. So reflecting it back to them. Because sometimes when you say that back, they think, oh, gee, it kind of clicks like, oh, that's not what I want.
Yeah, it made me realize that there's actually a problem.
Yes.
When I heard it from somebody else.
Yeah. And again, developing that discrepancy. So between what they want to happen and what's actually happening, what they're doing and what they want to do. Another important point is to avoid argument and direct confrontation. So even if it's the silliest thing, not to confront them, not to argue with them. There have been times where there were very simple answers to these issues, and I let you solve it. Because again, it's giving that empowerment back to you and back to your student. And there were times when you resisted me. And instead of telling you, well, I'm the teacher and I know better, okay, tell me why.
And I feel like that's a good thing because it made me realize that even though something doesn't work out, there's always a solution and eventually I'll be able to solve it.
Yes. And again, supporting that self-efficacy and optimism, supporting, them being able to do it themselves. So let's put it all together so that we can solve all the problems. So before you start, you absolutely must establish a good, solid rapport and relationship with students prior to beginning with this coach. If you didn't have that with me, what do you think would happen?
I wouldn't be able to trust you and talk to you about these problems, these issues. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm by myself and that either I ignore it like I used to do, or I'd feel alone.
Okay. And yeah, that's quite important, especially when you're solving issues like, a teacher not talking directly to you and addressing you. And we have to give explicit instruction in the problem, in the steps of problem solving, if we don't have that, there's no clear course for our students to get to solving it.
And I feel like it is hard I'm not saying it's easy to trust in a teacher or an adult, but once you do and once you find that level of communication, you're going to understand that there's so many people who want to help you.
Yes. There are tons of resources and tons of people who will help you. And I've always told you my goal for you. And being explicit about it. You know, there's no DHH teacher in college.
Mm-hmm.
There's no DHH teacher at your job. There's no one who's going to solve these problems for you. So again, giving back that empowerment. And again, we're aiming for self-determination and independence here. Being able to let the student solve it on their own. In Lynne Price's other book, which RMTC nicely gave it to me as well, Steps to Success, on page 191, she lays out the problem-solving steps. And there's quite a few here, and they're kind of hard to remember just as they are right here. So because I've used this a lot with middle and high school students, I have turned it into Dr. Guess, which when you're dealing with elementary students, middle and high school students, they think it's absolutely hilarious. And it helps them to remember those steps in problem solving. If you happen to have signing students, trying to find my notes here. If you have signing students, because Dr. Gass isn't going to really make sense about signing, another one that you can do is conflict, assess, information, list, finish, solved. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this will help them to remember that process. So when we start the session, we ask, what's up? What's on your mind today? How's it going? And it may not even be academic. I've had some students who come to me and say, oh, I don't get why my friends want to hang out with me after school. I'm just so tired. I've listened to teachers talk all day and I don't want to listen to anybody else talk. Now, that's definitely a hearing problem. That's definitely related to deaf and hard of hearing. But it's not academic. That's something that's after school. And we accept whatever comes up. And it may seem like the simplest of things. It may seem like an obvious answer. And we've had those before. But whatever comes up, do not negate it. Do not minimize it. Don't argue. With that student, you have to consider their emotional state. Yes, they want to hang out with their friends, but probably not after school. That may not be a good time. And my students know that they can come to me with whatever concern that they have because of that solid rapport that you've built. If there is a concern, go with it, and the student will drive the session. And you have to determine if that concern is related to hearing, okay? Recently, you came to me asking about college essays.
Yes, I did.
Right? And we sat down and analyzed, is that something hearing related? And we determined that it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And where did you end up going to resolve that issue?
I ended up going on tour. Toured the campus myself. I also talked to the dean of disabilities, and I also did tours online as well. And I searched up all the accommodations that they have for me myself, and I also emailed them and I asked them if if only the accommodations on their page is what they have, or if they have any more that they just didn't put on the website.
That's fantastic. So you found a better resource than just me, who would have, probably been able to Google it, and that's about it. That's great that you went directly to the dean. And from there, if it is hearing, we can move to problem solving. Sometimes, though, you might get the nothing much when you ask what's up, or my favorite, the ceiling. And then you move to this classroom analysis. Or if you happen to be consulting with the teachers and know that there is some other concern that maybe they're not aware about, go with that. But in this classroom analysis here, I have a student in history and I asked them to tell me about their seating, their teacher, acoustics, the subject, and the grade. Just looking at it here, is this a hearing issue? I want to see what our audience has to say. Is this a hearing issue that they're seated in the third row near the back? The teacher is far away. There's no microphone. They have an accent and they use some Spanish. There's tons of kids who are all whispering. They can hear other classes through the wall. Is this a hearing issue? And I'm getting some responses that yes, this is a hearing issue. Oh my goodness, yes, it is a hearing issue. And that D is probably because of a hearing issue. So with that student, I sat down and problem solved, figured out how can we make this better. The check minus that you see there is what they rated it, kind of like a thumbs up in between and thumbs down. What did they give that area? And that is also in the coach book. She explains it a little bit more there. From there, you get perspective on the student's concern. So what may seem like a huge problem to us sometimes is an anthill to our students. So Lynne Price gives a good example of this. One time her student came to her and said that there were no captions on the video in PE class. Now, for us DHH teachers, we're thinking, oh my dear goodness, I need to go talk to that teacher and put that fire out. But she shared her story of taking back, stopping teaching and becoming a coach, and said, well, tell me more about that situation. And they said, oh, well, it was only 1 minute. And yeah, then we went outside and did our thing. So for us, that was a 5. That was a big, huge emergency. But for that kid, a 1, maybe a 0. Often with my students, especially because I teach middle and high, I use this scale at the bottom here from a 1 to a 5. No big deal, to 5 being, oh my God, this is the worst problem ever, Miss Fowler. I can't deal with this.
And that's a perfect example of not seeing the fire.
Right, not see, you know, they may not, well, if it was only 1 minute,
right,
maybe, okay, maybe to you that might be an emergency too. That's a good example of perspective, especially if that video was what you're going to do in gym class today. Mm-hmm. Like, to you that might be a 5, and if you know, if it was 1 minute, I might be thinking, oh well, no big deal, whatever. That's a great example. Thank you for bringing that up. Mm-hmm. And another reason why it's important is this example here. So that student I had with history, I had them go ahead and draw their classroom out. And immediately they said that the second row was the best seating. And as DHH teachers, we're thinking, no, you need to be as close to the teacher as possible. Mm-hmm. And so I asked why. And they said, oh my goodness, they're such a loud talker. If I sat any closer, the teacher's voice would hurt my ears. Plus, I can see the board. So in that second row, they're right in front of the board. And all the noise is behind me. So all of those whispers, the classroom background noise was already behind them. From there, so we've already talked about their concern. We've gotten perspective. So now we ask, what have they been doing? What have you tried? Is that working? And you have said that this gives you a chance to reflect and look at what you've been doing. And again, going back to that motivational interviewing, is what they're doing now reflecting what their goals and what they want to see happen.
And that's another perfect example of understanding that sometimes things might not work, but there's other options and there's other things that can do to solve a problem.
Right. And you can see all the other options. Mm-hmm. You can see if that, okay, well, talking to my teacher didn't work. So what do I keep going back or do I try something else? Sometimes going back may be an option. In an age of information and asking Siri and Googling it, a lot of the times students forget that they already may know the answer. They may already have the information and not even realize it. They may have the resources and not even realize it. And this is a good time during the information time to ask, if they need help from someone or somewhere else, or if they can solve this on their own. Sometimes a problem that, we rated a 5, okay, well, maybe we need help from someone else. This has gotten way out of hand. And, I always tell my students, I'm a tool in your tool belt. I'm there to support you. I am a resource.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is a great way I feel like trust and communication is really the first step you should focus on, because once you build that, you'll believe them when they say that, oh, you have a solution, it can work, did you try it? Without the trust, you're not going to believe that you can solve a problem.
Yes. And at first, your students are probably going to want you to do everything, mm-hmm. because that's what they're used to.
And they're not going to believe that they have the solution themselves and that it could work out. So I feel like without the trust, they won't have motivation to even
start.
To do anything.
Yeah. And you can always remind them, especially when you start out, like, you probably, know this, you probably know this mm-hmm. solution, or it's hard at first.
4 years ago, I did not believe that I had the solution to anything.
But this is a very important step in realizing that they have this, they've got this, they can solve this.
And that helps boost my confidence so much.
So from there, do you need help or can you solve this on your own? We start to brainstorm. We think of options and options everywhere. We can allow the student to come up with as many options as they can think of. Good, bad, ugly, silly, whatever they've got. I have even had a student who wanted to yell at a teacher. And though that's not a great option, we wrote it down because that is an option. Another student said, I just want to walk out of the class. Okay, that is an option. Not a great one, but mm-hmm. We're getting there. We're getting to solving the problem. Sometimes they get stuck.
And that's perfectly fine.
And that's perfectly fine. Sometimes we only can see one option. And if they can't come up with any options, start to question, well, what would happen if you said this? What would happen if, you sat over here? Is there another way that you could do this?
And it gives the student a different perspective, something that they haven't thought of before.
Yes, and that's very important with problem solving. Some of our students get stuck thinking that that one solution is going to be it. And when we start to brainstorm and question and think, again, going back to that critical consciousness, thinking about, the many different options, and it gets them out of that mindset. So after you've brainstormed, you create an action plan. So which one or ones are best for this situation? Which ones do you think will work? So for example, creating a list here, first I'm going to talk to my teacher, then I'm going to go to the ESE coordinator, and then I'm going to meet with the teacher after class to make sure the student understands everything. This is where you follow up and where you get your data. I have my students set a timeline. So by the next time I see you, will you have this solved? If they do, great. If they didn't, well, what went wrong? What happened? What were you thinking? Maybe there wasn't a right time to talk to the teacher. Maybe the ESE coordinator wasn't there that day. Just find out what happened and go through the problem solving again.
And the timeline is a great way to practice self-advocacy, see if you can solve a problem on your own. And if not, I know that I have help.
You have
that I have
support.
You and so, yeah.
And your resources. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to practice. Nina and I are going to demonstrate for you what a typical session would look like. So, Nina, what's on your mind today?
A teacher did not give me extra time on a test.
Ooh, boy, they didn't give you extra time on your test?
No.
Oh, boy. All right. So that sounds like a pretty bad problem. From a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the worst thing ever and 1 is like, no big deal. Where would you rate this?
A 5.
A 5. This is the worst ever. Okay. What have you tried so far?
Well, I tried talking to the teacher to see if he gives me extra time, and I told him that I have the accommodation on my IEP, but he didn't really understand it.
Oh, so he didn't understand your IEP. Like you showed it to him and he was like...
He neglected it.
Yeah, he just like, I don't believe you, leave that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you think you want to talk to your teacher again, or do you want to try something else?
I want to try something else.
Okay, what else do you think you could try?
Maybe I can talk to my ESE coordinator and have her explain what an IEP is and how important it is for my teacher to follow my IEP.
Okay, so meet with the ESE coordinator, have them talk to the teacher rather than, maybe he'll listen to another teacher rather than just a student. Okay, what else might be an option here?
I can show him the IDEA.
Okay, the law. Okay, that's an option. Okay, anything else that you can think of? Maybe
I can have my parent call him.
Ooh, okay, getting your parent to call him and explain. All right. What else do you got?
I think that's it.
What if, I know this is like a really bad option, but what if you yelled at him?
I don't think it'll solve anything.
No?
But it is an option.
It is an option. Yeah, probably not a great idea, but or maybe we can just imagine that in our head,
Mm-hmm. And he really won't listen.
Okay, what if you told your teacher that about your IEP meeting next week and invited him to come.
That's a great option. It'll let him understand just how important my IEP is and all the accommodations that I have, and he'll learn about the IDEA and the ADA as well.
Okay, so he'll learn about your IEP and that this isn't just something you made up or something like that.
Plus, my mom will be there, so I feel like everybody will be able to pitch in their ideas.
Okay, and support you, right? Okay. So we've heard you might need some support from the ESC coordinator, you might need some support from your mom, you might need some support elsewhere. What option do you think would be best for this situation?
I feel like it's best if I take care of it and show him the IDEA and the ADA. I feel like when the law is involved, he'll understand just how important it is to follow my accommodations.
Okay, and when do you think you can you have that done before your next IEP meeting?
I think I'll have it done today.
You'll have it done today, okay. Great, can't wait to hear about it. So that's just an example of the of how a session would go. You can even use this in a classroom as a one-on-one center with your student. I wish I had a copy and remembered to bring one, but I might share it in the chat box at the end with using this with upper elementary, so 3rd through 5th grade. I've used a form where we sit down and fill out. And of course, you have to give a little bit more suggesting than getting it back from the student, but eventually, again, we empower them to the level that they can. So I want to show you the change, and I've seen it personally. So again, bringing up that 9th grade.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember my freshman year and my geometry class. That was just a mess.
That was a mess, yeah. Reading it out loud here, making it accessible for everyone. My geometry teacher won't talk to me directly. He keeps talking to my interpreter. I don't want to talk to him about it because I think that's rude to tell a teacher what to do. Yeah, it annoys me, but whatever. And there was one day that the interpreter didn't show up. As that happens, I mean, we get sick, cars, don't decide not to work last minute. And you said, it's fine.
It's fine, whatever.
I'll listen really hard and I'll get the notes from my friend. And at that time, we had some pretty low grades. Unfortunately, it was quite a struggle. Often you only wore one hearing aid.
Yes, I did.
You wouldn't look at the interpreter sometimes. I remember your interpreter and I trying to figure out why in the world you weren't looking at them. And you had poor time management skills. You would not request an interpreter if one wasn't given, especially going to all those clubs that you had.
And he had a British accent. I forgot to mention that. And bad jokes, too. Yeah.
Which teacher was this?
I can't say the name, but my geometry teacher.
Oh, your geometry teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only did he not talk to you, but he had an accent on top of this.
Yeah, and I had to force myself to laugh, maybe for extra credit or something, because my grades were really low.
And then this year, a couple months ago, I was so shocked. I asked, what's up? And Nina said to me, I have my SAT coming up this weekend, and I wanted to make sure my interpreter would be there. So I already called the agency, and they confirmed that the interpreter would be there. I also asked for and wrote down a number to call or text in case they didn't show up. And in that moment, I said, well, what am I doing here? You don't need me. You're good. And that's what you want. That's really the end goal, is that you don't need that DHH teacher. You don't need to depend on someone to solve a problem, And we talked recently about transition, and you said that you want to be a pediatrician.
Yes, I do. I want to be a pediatrician and help parents get through the time where they find out that their kid is deaf or hard of hearing.
Yeah.
And I want to inform them on ways they can be a part of their kid's life, and I want to show them that they have ways to communicate with their kids, such as sign language.
And we probably won't be apologizing. No one will say, I'm sorry, your kid is hard of hearing. I'm sorry, your kid is deaf.
Right. I want to be the one to show them that it's okay to have a disability. I want to stress the importance of
letting them advocate and
like just making sure that parents be a part of their kids' lives.
That's especially important.
Yeah, because a lot of deaf and hard of hearing kids don't have a form of communication with their parents, and I feel like that's really important. And I wouldn't be where I am today without my support from like my friends, my family, my team.
Yeah. And it's important to show others. That kind of level of thinking is, that's what comes from this. I mean, we went from my interpreter didn't show up and it's fine to, I want to show other people that that's not fine. That's,
No, it's not. It's really not.
You can do this on your own. And I'm happy to report that Nina has gotten on a roll. She has A's and B's. She's the student class president in National Honor Society, and she mentors my DHH students and other students around the district. So with that, are there any questions? Let's see. I think there was one in the chat box here. How about a student that refuses to wear amplification?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one. I get where the student is coming from. Not wearing their amplification is like a way of expressing that they're not confident in maybe how it feels on them, how it looks. Maybe they're not used to the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time, but once they understand just how much it benefits them, then I feel like they'll wear it more.
Right, and stepping back from saying like, where's your hearing aids? Where's your hearing aids? Where's your cochlear implant? Where is it? Why aren't you wearing it? Why aren't you using your FM today? Step back and let them make the decision.
Right.
Like, it's invasive enough to have something into your ears.
Right.
And, sometimes those FM systems get misused by teachers. There may be a reason why,
Can I share mine?
Sure.
I am in the medical academy in my school, and this was the first time where I had to wear uniforms such as like scrubs and my hair up in a bun, meaning that my hearing aids would be shown. That's 9th grade year was when my little confidence that I had just went down dramatically. That's why I stopped wearing my hearing aids. That's why I stopped looking at my interpreter. But over time, I realized just how important it is to wear my amplifications, my hearing aids.
And that was a lot through this process, right?
It was.
And realizing, I have the power to choose when and where I wear my amplification. Even thinking, like part of this also is you can teach them like reading their audiogram. So if they're not realizing, oh, I actually need that, and and this is how much I get with my hearing aid. Mm-hmm. Again, not telling them over and over, but.
And actually, like, when Miss Fowler would ask me how my day was, it would, like 4 years ago and now as well, I'd tell her my concerns. Like 4 years ago, I tell her that I'm not comfortable wearing my hearing aids, and then she'd let me express myself, and she'd let me just, talk to you about it. And then you tell me, like, you show me the audiogram, I remember, in the speech banana, and then you taught me just how much I hear with and without hearing aids, and it gave me a different perspective.
Okay, yeah. I get where you're coming from with the amplification. I think there was another question here. Karen says, do your students keep a copy of their IEPs at school? A lot of my high school students, they keep a copy of their accommodations. Mm-hmm. And they always know that they can come to me. I am a resource. They know their resources and they know where to go for that IEP.
Me personally, I always have a copy of my IEP on me just in case a teacher doesn't know my accommodations or wouldn't give me one. Just having that documentation is really key to getting all the help that you need.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Can you repeat the website that we can get a certification?
I think Sherry answered that one.
There is one more question, Shannon, about persevering when a kid gets stuck or has like repetitive complaints or problems. How do you work through that with the student? Or if, I guess, how do you get a student to kind of accept responsibility and change that perspective of ownership over their progress and success?
I guess I would defer to you when that was happening. And
do you want me to take it back to freshman year?
Sure.
When I wasn't wearing my hearing aids, I'd always talk to Miss Fowler about it 24/7, and I tell her, like, I don't want to wear it, I don't want to look at the interpreter, I don't feel beautiful, I'm not confident enough, like, why do I have to talk to a teacher? Like,
when did you realize that what you were doing over and over again didn't work?
When I kept talking about it, honestly. When I kept talking about it to you over and over, and that was all I was talking about, I realized that, if it's definitely a problem if I keep talking about it.
And when it finally got resolved, how did you feel?
I was so relieved. I felt like, if I can solve this one problem, imagine how many other problems I can solve.
I mean, it's gonna come, that ownership is gonna come, that, that success. When they finally see that there's even the smallest little problem, that they can solve it.
It boosts my confidence.
Definitely. It'll boost confidence. It's honestly, like I said, this is 4 years. This isn't just a snap of the finger kind of thing. Time. It does take time, but.
And patience with yourself as well.
Yes. But it will come. Karen also asked, have you ever had any situation where parents would not accept their child wearing hearing aids, despite reviewing their audiogram, listening to simulations, etc.? I have not tried this on parents, personally. I'd be interested to know, Karen, what that looks like, using that with adults. If anyone has any experience with doing that, I'd love to hear it. all we can really do, I think, is focus on the kid believing it. We can inform them as much as possible, but, you know, I suppose we could use motivational interviewing with our parents, but there's only a certain extent that we can do.
Shannon, I also would add to that, one of the things that we use a lot of times to justify and to support the use of that amplification is to show parents and students the results of their functional listening evaluation. A lot of times kids will say, oh no, I can hear a kid say this, oh no, miss, I'm good, I can hear it in class, I'm good. And then I would pull them out and do the functional listening evaluation, and I'm like, this is how much you're missing. And I had the data and the evidence. And I think sometimes that goes a long way with parents too, to show them the differential between what the kid can hear with and without amplification. So I think that's, and then discussing why that happens. And I think that's when you go into the interviews, you know, and you're able to sit down with the kids and make those comments. So,
yes. Thank you for reminding me, Sherry. There's actually, Lynne says something about that in C.O.A.C.H, that you do the functional listening evaluation and then have the student reflect. What do they think about it? Do they agree? Do they disagree? Why do they disagree? You know, and just having them again, you know, reflect and critically think about this, even if it's just as simple as a functional listening. Are there any other questions? Well, if anything comes to mind, I know sometimes I think of a question like 5 minutes after everything's already over. My contact information is there. I have my cell phone up there that you can text me anytime. I'm also on Twitter at @SFowlerDHH. And my email is there, shannon.fowler@palmbeachschools.org. Thank you so much, RMTC. Thank you so much, Nina.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
We just want to take this moment to thank Shannon and Nina for joining us today and for presenting. This information has been phenomenal. We appreciate your time and the valuable information that you've shared. We would also like to take this time to thank our CART provider, Ann Armstrong, for providing the captions today.
Yay.
And finally, we want to thank all of the participants for allowing us to be a part of your day today. The recording will be posted on the RMTC-DHH website, and we love hearing from you, and we're happy to help you in any way we can. You can connect with us through social media like Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. You can also sign up for our newsletter. We would love to see your comments on social media about what you've learned, but make sure that you use that hashtag RMTC-DHH. As you know, we are a state of Florida Department of Education, Bureau of Exceptional Education and Student Services discretionary project, and all of the services we provide to all of our stakeholders are free. To continue our work, we have to collect survey data to justify why our services are needed. If each of you could please complete the survey that I've just put in the chat box, we would really appreciate it. If you had a colleague who missed out and would like to see this broadcast, or if you'd like to rewatch it later, head on over to rmtc-dhh.org/TA-live. Please be sure to join us next month when we welcome Dr. Jen Kilpatrick from the University of North Florida as she presents using mentor text in writing instruction with students who are DHH. This presentation will demonstrate how teachers of the deaf can help DHH students become great writers by helping them to become, wait for it, writing thieves. It will focus on using mentor text to provide students with opportunities to experiment with incorporating the same features that real authors use in their constructions. Participants will leave with a list of suggested mentor texts. For more information, visit our website at rmtc-dhh.org/TA-live. Thank you again on behalf of all of the RMTC staff for joining us today. We're going to end the broadcast in just a few seconds. So if you have not clicked on that evaluation link, please do so. I would also point out that I have uploaded a link to the slides. Go and get those. So if you would like the slides, and if you haven't already done your evaluation, please go do those right now before we end the broadcast. Shannon and Nina, fantastic job. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording now.